Hi, everybody. I'm here with Jeremy Thornton, and we are talking about recruiter enablement. Jeremy and I have known each other for quite some time, and probably like a couple of different companies back, I guess, for both of us. We started in recruitment around about the same time, so we both remember fax machines and Rolodex and stuff like that. And so, Jeremy, we're going to be talking about recruiter enablement. Specifically, we're going to be talking about data, and you've spent a lot of the last 10 years really specializing in this kind of area. So I'm excited to hear about your expertise and hear about what we need to know about. So yeah, quick introduction to you and like your careers to date.
Hi, thanks, Adam. Yeah, as ever, great to catch up, and yeah, some fun memories over the years. So my background, basically 20 years plus in recruitment. The last 10, I focused on data and reporting, and the catalyst for that, ran my own recruitment business. At the same time, I was running networking events for internal recruiters. And it became very clear that the internal teams weren't using data in the same way and gaining the same level of value that the agencies were. So set up a business that initially benchmarked, but then latterly delivered businesses, talent acquisition, and then HR reporting. So going to a business, create their reporting strategy, align the business strategy to the TA strategy, and out of that become the reporting strategy. Latterly, spent the last nearly just under 3 years at Citi, joined them and built their first global talent acquisition analytics platform. Built that on Power BI, business intelligence platform, covering 240 countries. We averaged about 67,000 experience hires a year whilst I was there. We peaked at 91,000 in 2022. And then on top of that, we had about 5 million applicants per year data in the platform. So yeah, really interesting project that's actually coming to has come to an end now. So in terms of recruitment enablement, I think the key thing for me is using data to remove the mist and the fog from a recruiter. So front end recruiter, what have they got? What are they currently working on? And what are they going to be working on? If you can, I think, give that individual visibility, what are my requisitions? What stage are those requisitions? And looking at historic data, where did success come from? So channels to market, evaluate your different channels to market, your volume of applicants at the top of that funnel versus your volume of applicants at the bottom of that funnel. I've seen recently funnels where we would get 30,000 applications and we would make 50 to 60 hires. However, that's 30,000 applications that have to be worked through by recruiters. So I think there's top and bottom of the funnel. Also into that for recruiters, looking at diversity. So what are your diverse mix at each stage in that funnel? I think for me, that data then empowers the recruiter to go to the hiring manager either at the beginning of the search or during the search and add value, become a value add individual. Mr. Hiring Manager, we've made this hire before. This is where people came from. These are the organizations that we typically hire them from. These are the channels to market. This is what we found to be, to be successful. So it becomes a partnership style conversation. So that is what have you got currently going on. The other thing then is to, using data, understand what's going to be happening. So rule of thumb now, plus or minus, depending upon industry sector, size of business, etc. Quite often, 80% of your hiring from the previous year, you're going to repeat this year. And what I mean by that, I refer to this hiring as the mighty middle. So most organizations, you have the mighty middle. These are the guys and girls who come into work, do a fantastic job, and then leave. That's what they do on a daily basis. They're not looking to be the next CEO, the next hotshot. They want to come in, they want to feel fulfilled in what they do. And quite often it's that mighty middle where you can then work out, I'm going to get X amount of requisitions. So from that, you can then start to look at your pipelines and plan ahead. So I think for me, the key thing is, what have you got going on and what is likely to be happening? that data should then enable you, like I said, to understand which tools to use, when to use them, how to use them. Does that?
It does. I mean, I've got, like, you've given a comprehensive overview of that, but so I've kind of got no further questions, but also a million further questions. Some of the ones that are off the top of my head, like, I imagine the HRIS and the ATS are the two main sources of data. Is that right?
Yeah, so most organizations, those are the two sources. It's accessing that data. Historically, what I found, especially applicant data. You know, if you've got millions and millions of applicants, yes, the data was in there, but downloading that, you know, traditionally, most ATS you can download into a spreadsheet, some sort of Excel style file. Start trying to pivot and really understand that volume of data. That's where the business intelligence platform. So the ones I've worked with, Power BI, Tableau, Tibco, Click, as well as Salesforce. You need to, I would describe myself as the translator. Translation of that large complex data set into different buckets. So you've got some buckets where you know, strategic business leaders, others is very much the operational bucket we're talking about today. You're taking that and you're translating it into an easy to follow path for the recruiter and enabling them to understand what good looks like. But yeah, taking the data out of that platform. And having worked across, you know, multitudes of ATSs in my time, the principles are pretty much the same across all of them. 90% of what you get is exactly the same. You get, you know, the icing on top, you know, the bit that the sales guys talk about right now. AI, fantastic, you know, is obviously the current flavor of the month. Some of that I think is comparable to parsing technology, which we know has been around, you know, for a long, long time in the market. But it's translating that data from a large, complex data set into something your recruiters understand. Now, what I found fascinating is even working with financial service organizations, insurance companies. I was working for an insurance company a while back, and I was expecting to go in there and find that the business were very data literate. In fact, they weren't, and the recruiters weren't. No fault of their own. And what they'd historically done is produce some fantastic analytics, which the likes of Apple and Google would have loved, but it wasn't aligned to the audience. Unless your recruiters understand the data and are happy to talk about that data when challenged, they're not going to have the confidence to discuss that data with individuals because they don't want to be put in a position of not knowing the answer. Now that's from a operational recruiter right up through to a HR director. An HR director is not going to present data to a CEO, to him or her CEO or the board without fully understanding it. Start simple, nice simple bar charts, nice simple line graphs. A recruiter only needs 5 or 6 core measures.
I imagine that this is useful for recruiters, but it's also useful for talent sourcing and recruitment marketing teams as well.
Yeah, so what was fascinating at City was when we delved into the candidate data set, which they hadn't done before. So we had 5 million applicants. We were able to illustrate exactly what stage those individuals got to. We were then able to go in and analyze individual channels to market. So we could look at, for example, if we looked at our events, we could see every single event that we'd partaken in. We could see the number of applicants at the top of the funnel versus the number of applicants at the bottom of the funnel, i.e. number that we hired. So then what we could do is the engagement team, because over at City you've got a massive infrastructure of some very, very talented individuals in the candidate engagement space. They could then look at that matrix and understand, based upon country level skill set, actually what were our most successful channels to market. And there was a lot of myth busting. So people's perception of what was successful quite often wasn't actually aligned to reality. So some of the traditional events you went to, we weren't actually getting value for value. Some of the social media we did, we got massive response. Everyone's like, oh, that job board's great. But as I mentioned earlier, 30,000 applicants and you're going to hire 500. That's 30,000 CVs for a recruiter to go through. So it got really, really, really interesting, quite in depth around that piece, and it was a lot of fun going in, and then also overlaying that with the diversity data. Ultimately, what a lot of the business, real key driver in so many businesses now is diversity. Where are you getting your diverse candidates from? If you ask a recruiter, so just go back. I see a lot of organizations invest a lot of money in 2 or 3 significant channels to market. And then they expect their diversity to increase. So the question I ask is like fishing in a pond. You're just going to put more rods in that pond and you're expecting to get a different catch to what you got before. There's only certain fish in that pond. So it's actually educating and understanding where that comes from. So once again, when the recruiter goes to the hiring manager, they can have those conversations. Ultimately, the networking, the referrals, where we previously got fantastic diverse talent from which companies. So it's basically giving the individual the ability to go down through that data set. Some recruiters are very, very data literate, and they'll come back asking questions, which is fantastic. Others aren't. But the key to it, though, is whatever you produce for the recruiters to enable them to be successful in their job, the data, the platform, 30% of it. The rest is the correct implementation, correct upskilling of those recruiters, so they know and understand the data. They understand the data relationships, the impact that data has.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, last question is like, what do you see as the trend in this area? Do you believe that talent acquisition teams? I mean, I know you've been intensively focused on working with one major bank over the last few years, but I think you probably got your finger on the pulse in terms of like what other companies are doing. Do you believe that TA teams are like up to speed with what they need to know about in this, or do you think there's a long way to go? And yeah,
I think it's the good old Pareto law, split. I think there is a certain percentage which are excellent at what they do. They talk about the sources, you talk about the people going out there in the talent intelligence community. Ultimately, I think there's a number of recruiters who are interested in data, and they're interested in using that data to empower them and enable them. I do think, though, there is a large amount of that population where they haven't been given the tools they need to do the job. They are expected to, keep pulling rabbits out of the hat by posting job adverts, analyzing the quality of the job adverts, analyzing which job adverts work, A/B testing them. That's where you can start to go on the on that journey. But I think generally, from my experience over the last 10 years, there's some fantastic pockets of individuals out there doing an amazing job. However, I think there's also a lot out there where they're not invested in, they're not given access to the right technology or the right tools to do the job. They're just expected to magic up a job advert which miraculously attracts all the right individuals. So yeah, I'm a great believer in understanding data, aligning your engagement strategy to that, understanding which tools you need to do the job, writing the adverts, creating the social media, empowering the individuals, and then also celebrating that success.
Yeah, I think I've said this quite a few times. I think that I'm sure we are getting more sophisticated in this area, and there's more demand for skills and tactics in this area. I really think that we're moving from faster as well, moving from a team of 50 recruiters is going to be a team of 30 recruiters, but quite a few other interesting jobs get created at the same time. Jobs in enablement, jobs in rec ops, jobs in marketing and branding, and jobs in like data and the storytelling in all of that as well. And I think when you've got a good blend of skills than the overall, even though there's maybe less people actually filling the jobs, they're going to be filling more jobs better, and everybody's, you know, the entire unit's going to be more productive and successful.
Absolutely. Yeah, use recruiters should be adding value at certain stages of the process. Other stages of those process is the marketing team, is the tech team, etc., as you mentioned. So I think, yeah, it's getting the right skilled individuals into the right seats, all pointing in the right directions, but then giving them a really clear understanding of what good looks like. What 12 points should they follow? So in a previous role, I put in a 12-point plan to let the recruiters understand what steps they had to follow to look good. And when I've worked with organizations in the past, I've come in and asked them the question. So if you're an airline, are you a Ryanair EasyJet? Are you a British Airways, or are you a Virgin Upper Class? What service are you offering your customers? And if I ask 10 recruiters, will I get the same answer? So I think it's just deciding, you know, recruitment is a wide, you know, is a wide ranging description: recruitment, talent acquisition, sourcing, etc. What service do you want to offer? Where can you add the value to that? And then also, how can you evidence that value? Because for me, that's where the data comes in. When a recruiter goes into their end of year, when a recruitment leader goes into the end of year assessment, if they've got data proving that they have achieved what they were expected to achieve, they can articulate their return on investment or their performance against certain key metrics, that's success.
Absolutely. Jeremy, thank you very much for your time. Great to see you today. Look forward to catching up again soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.